Hey, how you doing today? We're going to start working on the binding on our e-bender telly. Like a lot of people, I've got the StuMac guide that you just put on a Dremel tool. It works pretty good, but you have to be careful about the angle. Make sure you're holding it straight. It's not the best thing in the world. It's better than nothing. And I'll still use it on things like an archtop guitar. But got a nice flat surface to work with, so I'm going to use just a regular router. And what I did was I measured the thickness of my binding exactly. I know this is a 1/2 inch, and so I went through the different bearings, got the right one on it. I'm going to get a piece of just scrap just to test it as far as the height. I know the width is going to be right, or the depth is going to be right with this bearing on it. I want this to be maybe a 1/64 of an inch high, because after I paint it and I come back to scrape it, I don't want to have to scrape the paint. I don't want to have to worry about being that careful with it. And a 1/64 of an inch with the instrument lacquer is not going to be anything at all. So I'm going to get set up and I'm going to cut this and let you check that out. Okay, back on the binding. We got the groove cut. There's a lot of different ways you can do this. What I used to do was I would get the acetone and put them together before I put them on. And when I did that, a lot of times what I would end up with is when I was going around the curves, they would want to come apart and shift. So now what I do is what I'm about to show you, the easiest way I know to do it. You're going to need some acetone, a syringe or a way to put the acetone on it, something to put acetone in, tape. I've got the binding tape from StuMac, but regular masking tape works just as well. And heat gun. If it was just one piece of binding, then I would just glue it on with the StuMac binding glue, or even some cyanoacrylic adhesive. But since it's going to be 3 layers, we're going to get them all in place, and then we're going to do it. First thing you want to do is check all of them. Check both sides of all of them. Make sure everything's good. No tape left. Then you're just going to stack them up in the order that they're going to be on the guitar. And they'll all come curved. So try to just keep all the curves the same. Makes it a lot easier. Get a few pieces of this binding tape stuck to the side of my bench here. Just to get a little start. usually start with the hardest part first, just to get it out of the way. But then you get that first piece, that first set. There. And as you can see, it doesn't want to go down in there. So, and to get it to go around this edge also is going to be rough. So I'm going to go ahead and put a piece of tape here. I know I'm going to need it. I'm going to hold this in place and hit it with the heat gun. The heat gun will soften it up. You have to be careful because it'll also burn it and melt it to pieces. It's a little bit of heat. Sometimes you have to do it 3-4 times. You will get it where it will stay. Okay, I've made it around to the other end here. And as you can see, the binding's wanting to go the opposite way. And this curve right here is going to be, it's going to be pretty rough. But I'm going to work this with the heat gun. And hopefully you'll see how I do it. I heat it up, I hold it in place until it cools off. Get it too hot, it will burn. If it doesn't burn, it'll just melt. So you want to be careful. You'll feel it give. You'll feel it start to give. And you just keep working your way around, working your way around. Just a lot of patience, that's all. A lot of patience. You'll feel it give and you'll see it give. Hold it in place. It'll hold the shape more than enough for that tape to take over. There we go. Then cut the excess. I don't want to trim the excess right now. I don't want to get it even with the body. We're just trying to get it on the body right now. There we go. That looks pretty good. You see people, when they do this, they've got the entire guitar just covered in tape and it's just everywhere. If you're using the cement, then that's fine. if you're going to do things this way, it's going to mess you up. The tape needs to hold the binding on, but not actually be holding the shape of the binding. That's what the heat gun is for. If you're using the tape to hold the shape and you put the acetone on it, they don't make tape that has glue on it that the acetone is not going to eat away, and your tape will start just falling off. Then you'll have a mess. What I do is I just get a little bit, find a spot where there's no tape, wick a little into it, and that's that. After this sets for 4 or 5 hours, I'll come back, I'll pull all the tape off, then I'll go around it again with the acetone, and then it will be adhered to the body completely. It melts that binding into the wood grain, into the pores of the wood, and just it glues it in permanent, and it does a really good job. So, okay, let stuff dry overnight, and then I pulled the tape off, went around it with the syringe again, not a lot, just a little bit. There we go. Then I scrape it with an X-Acto knife. I want to still leave it high. The only reason I scrape it is to get the really high spots off and be able to inspect it, make sure that everything looks good. The last final thing is right here in my neck pocket. I'm going to take an X-Acto saw and trim these up slightly. I'm going to leave them a little long. Leave everything a little long and leave everything a little high, because the next step will be to apply some paint. Put the red paint on. I'll mask off the sides but not the top. That's why I want to leave the top just a little bit high. Remember when we put the binding on, I left about a 32nd of an inch high. Scraped it down until it's about a 64th. And once I paint it, I'll come back and scrape that, and that's going to make it perfectly uniform, perfectly straight lines. There you go. Binding 101. The next video is going to be us putting some paint on this bad boy. Till then, if you have any questions or comments, our email address is at the beginning and the end of every video. And everyone have a good day. Thank you.